Exposed, single mom's heartwarming journey at son's wedding transformed by a shocking nameplate. Sarah stood at the entrance of the town's community center, heart pounding like a drum. The vibrant decorations, handmade flowers of every color, twinkling fairy lights created a fairy tale, yet her chest tightened at the thought of what lay beyond those doors. Today was Jake's wedding day, a moment she'd dreamed about for years. She had envisioned this day filled with laughter and joy, yet a storm of mixed emotions swirled within her. For years of widowhood had honed her resilience, each day a rolling tide of grief and strength. Now, that tide threatened to rise again. As she walked toward the crowd, she noticed the smiling faces of their neighbors. It warmed her heart, but beneath it, she caught snippets of whispered voices. "Did you see her dress?" one wealthy guest remarked, her tone dripping with condescension. "Not exactly designer, is it?" another hissed, glancing towards Jake's table. A familiar pain gripped Sarah's heart, rooted in the class disparity she thought she'd left behind. The reception flourished, laughter echoing while the fresh scent of lilies filled the air. But the moment Sarah laid eyes on the nameplate at Jake's table, that innocence shattered. "Mother of the groom." It felt like a jab, as if all her sacrifices were reduced to mere lettering. Panic seized her, pulling her from the sparkles of celebration into the harsh reality she tried so hard to escape. Her hands trembled, anger rising within her like an uncontained fire. Enough. The word escaped her lips before her mind caught up. All the work she'd put into raising Jake, the sleepless nights waitressing, striving for a better life flashed before her, an avalanche of memories pushing her to stand. Her heart raced, determination swelling in her chest. Today was not just about Jake marrying the love of his life. It was her moment to expose the quiet injustices that lingered in the shadows. Her voice cracked as she began to speak, but as tears stung her eyes, she embraced her emotions. "I've been a widow for 4 years, she confessed, her words trembling but resolute. "A single mother fighting for my son's future." The crowd hushed, drawn to her honesty. "Every plate I served at the diner represented a lesson in hard work. Every sacrifice was for love." Before she could breathe, Jake stepped forward, his face glowing with pride. "None of this would be possible without my mom," he declared, his voice steady. "She's my inspiration." A ripple of surprise washed over the room, shooting sparks of warmth through the crowd, urging them to step closer, to lean in. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake and Sarah stood united, the warmth of their bond sparking a spirit of empathy in the room. But just as the tide of acceptance began to swell, the couple revealed a surprise twist. They would be changing the course of the ceremony, making it a tribute to the unwavering bond between parent and child. Joy rippled through Sarah, yet a shadow lingered over her heart. Her dreams now felt intertwined with fear of judgment and class division creeping back in. As she glanced around, the eyes of the wealthy guests turned glacial, whispers discordant in the air. Was this moment going to uplift them to a new beginning or crush her resolve to confront the past? The room pulsated with anticipation, hanging in the balance as Sarah braced herself for what came next. The room felt electric, like a live wire about to spark. Sarah's heart raced, uncertainty clouding her mind. She could sense the tension in the air, the elitists shifting uncomfortably in their chairs. The whispers grew louder, hinting at their incredulity. What are they thinking? Who do they think they are? But then something magical happened. One by one, guests began to rise from their seats. First, it was Mrs. Baker from the coffee shop, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You tell them, Sarah." She called out, her voice ringing with encouragement. That was all it took. Others began to applaud. Small claps at first, timid and unsure, but then they grew louder, stronger, echoing through the hall. The warmth of their support wrapped around Sarah, pushing the chill of judgment from her mind. She felt Jake squeeze her hand. His gaze was steady, filled with love and confidence. With renewed strength, she turned back to the crowd, searching for the right words amidst the whirlwind of emotion. "And to all of you who've witnessed the struggle," she began again, "I want you to know that being a single mother isn't a badge of shame. It is a badge of courage." The crowd erupted once more, a wave of energy once more, infusing her with hope. Jake stood beside her, his presence firm and reassuring. "Today isn't just a union of two people, it's a celebration of the influences that shaped their lives," he stated, his voice steady. "My mom taught me resilience and the true meaning of family. This moment is about honoring her and all the hard work she has poured into my life." As Jake spoke, Sarah glanced around the room. A couple of wealthy guests exchanged uneasy glances, but something deep within her shattered the shackles of her old fears. Did they understand now? That love transcended wealth. That sacrifices had forged a bond far more important than reputation or class. With every passing second, the atmosphere shifted. Anxiety transformed into admiration. She saw tears in the corner of some eyes. Others nodded in agreement. The walls of class divide she feared only moments ago began to dissolve like morning mist. Then, just as excitement peaked, a young woman at the back raised her hand. It was one of Jake's childhood friends, someone who had been invited to share a few words. "I never met your dad," she said, her voice wavering slightly, "but from all the stories Jake shared, I can see he would have been proud of you both. Family is family. It doesn't matter how it's formed." With that statement, the room plunged into a heartfelt silence, the weight of love and loss hanging together. Sarah's heart swelled, a sense of unity sweeping through her. This was what she had fought for all along, a moment where love eclipsed everything else. "Thank you," she whispered as Jake's hand tightened around hers. But then the sound of a glass clinking against metal interrupted her thoughts. She turned, facing an unexpected figure from the past, the father of Jake's bride, an imposing man with a reputation for being strict and unforgiving. As he stood, silence settled over the room, tension coiling thick with uncertainty. Sarah held her breath, anticipation prickling in the air. What would he say? Would he stoke the flames of judgment or fan the flames of acceptance? Something told her this moment could either bridge the divide or build walls even higher. With bated breath, Sarah awaited the truth he was about to unleash. The room still trembled from the last wave of applause when Mr. Grayson, Jake's father-in-law, cleared his throat. The sound cut through the stillness like a knife. His presence was commanding, and for a split second, Sarah felt small again, as if the weight of the world rested solely on his shoulders. The whispers had silenced. Curiosity blended with fear, and the crowd waited with bated breath. "I wasn't prepared to speak today," he began, his deep voice resonating across the hall. "But after hearing the stories shared, hearing the warmth from this group, I feel compelled to address what's on my mind." His eyes swept across the guests, landing momentarily on Sarah. She could feel the pressure of his gaze, like a spotlight aimed directly at her. "I have spent years thinking that success equates to wealth and status," he continued, his words deliberate. "But today, witnessing the connections that bind these two wonderful souls, I realize just how misguided I've been." The tension in the air began to lift slightly. Sarah's breath turned to a whisper of hope. Mr. Grayson paused, collecting his thoughts. "Jake, you've always been a son to me. I never saw you differently because you carry so much of your mother's spirit." But Sarah, he looked directly at her now, his tone switching from one of authority to something softer. "You deserve respect and admiration for all you've overcome. No title defines you. Your courage speaks volumes." At that moment, Sarah felt something unlock inside her. It was as if the world had shifted. The heaviness of doubt she carried through life lightened. She noticed several guests wiping their eyes. She was far from alone in this emotional awakening. Grayson continued, family is a complex tapestry, woven from the threads of love, sacrifice, and understanding. And from what I see today, you both exemplify that. He took a deep breath, a look of sincere reflection on his face. I'll admit I was apprehensive about this union due to the notion society placed on family. But standing here now, I see nothing but love. It's time I let go of my past beliefs. The room erupted into applause again. This time, every clap felt charged with a sense of release, barriers were truly coming down. Mr. Grayson turned to Jake and Sarah, you have my blessing. Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes as she glanced at Jake. They were both beaming, a mix of disbelief and gratitude surfacing in their smiles. This moment felt sacred, a testament to blossoming possibilities. The applause continued, and Sarah found herself standing taller, buoyed not just by the support of the crowd, but by the unexpected acceptance from someone she held in such high regard. Did she dare to dream that maybe more walls could come down? Then, as she prepared to speak once more, an unsettling thought crossed her mind. What about the past? The struggles she had faced or the judgment she had endured? Would those memories resurface now that the world seemed ready to embrace her? Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through her thoughts, a family member from her side, someone she had hoped would remain quiet. But what about her past? They queried, their tone full of indignation. Can we truly overlook everything she has been through? The echo of that question ricocheted within her. Had the acceptance she sought truly arrived, or was the road ahead still fraught with obstacles to overcome? As the crowd hushed in anticipation, Sarah knew one truth, this conversation was far from over. The room fell silent, the weight of that question hanging like an uninvited cloud. Sarah's heart raced. Her mind whirled with memories of the struggle that once defined her. She felt a sting in her chest, an instinctive urge to shrink back, to hide from the light of that piercing gaze. Mr. Grayson's look turned stern, his brows knitted. We all have pasts, he said, piercing through the murmur of concern. It's what we do moving forward that defines us. Sarah has proven her strength, and that should speak volumes. But the family member who had spoken up leaned in closer to the front, eyes sharp, practically daring Mr. Grayson to counter. You don't know the half of it, they shot back. What about the mistakes? The choices? The air crackled with tension. A handful of the guests exchanged uneasy glances, wondering how this was going to unfold. Jake squeezed Sarah's hand, a silent promise of support. Sarah took a deep breath, shaking off the chill of uncertainty. This was not just about them anymore, it was about owning her truth. Yes, I have a past, Sarah said, her voice rising above the whispering crowd. And it's not all neat and tidy. She could see those judging eyes, but this time, she felt different. Stronger. I made choices that led me here, to this moment. Every hardship I faced shaped who I am today, who I want to be. Are you sure it's not merely the weight of guilt making you feel this way? The family member shot back, their voice laced with something darker. You have to tell them everything. They deserve the truth. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, tension thickening as the crowd absorbed those words. Sarah couldn't deny the truth behind them. Was she going to deny her past? Could this moment truly be a fresh start if she didn't face it head-on? I won't pretend I'm perfect, she replied, her heart drumming. I struggled, I fell, but I got back up. I became a mother when I was scared. I fought for a better life, not just for myself but for my son. The words spilled from her like a dam breaking, raw, authentic. Even the whispers softened, replaced by faces leaning in, eager to catch every syllable. Every challenge I faced taught me resilience, taught me the value of love. I don't want to hide. I want to show that it's possible to rise from the ashes of your past. She glanced at Mr. Grayson, seeing something in his eyes shift, a new understanding, a bridge forming, and then she took a bold step forward. I'm here today, not just as Jake's wife but as someone deserving of love, of respect. And I am so grateful for the support everyone has shown. But if you truly care about me, you will embrace my whole story, not just the pieces you find acceptable." The silence that followed was thunderous. Sarah's heart raced, a mix of fear and liberation coursing through her veins. The air buzzed with newfound energy, crackling with possibility. And then Jake spoke, his voice steady and full of warmth. "Sarah is not only my wife, she is the heart of our family." He stepped closer, the two of them anchored together. "Her past adds depth to the love we share. It's shaped us." The warmth flooded back into the room, the acceptance palpable like the summer sun breaking through the clouds. Slowly, applause began to swell, hesitant at first but growing with each clap until it thundered like a storm, but even as the applause washed over her, Sarah felt a knot of anxiety rising again. The question lingered at the edges of her mind: was this applause merely a momentary reprieve? Would her past, raw and unpolished, still haunt her when the ceremony concluded? As the claps faded, she caught a flicker of doubt in another face across the room. The battle within her rumbled louder than ever, a lingering shadow refusing to let light in. With that tumultuous thought echoing in her mind, Sarah wondered what the next turn in this journey would reveal. The applause slowly died down, but the energy in the room remained electric. Sarah felt momentarily uplifted, buoyed by the affection from loved ones gathered around her. Yet just as quickly, her heart sank. What if the acceptance she felt now was the calm before a storm? The family member who had challenged her still stood with a frown etched deep on their face, arms crossed tightly over their chest. Sarah could sense the questions hovering in the air, lingering like a thick mist. She turned slightly and caught Jake's eye. He gave her an encouraging nod. She knew he wouldn't let her face the backlash alone. The next moments unfolded in slow motion. Guests began to mingle again, some whispering among themselves, others clapping her on the back. But Sarah could feel that lingering unease. The atmosphere was fragile, as if everything could shatter with the wrong word. As she nervously sipped from her glass of sparkling water in an attempt to mirror the gesture of celebration surrounding her, Jake leaned in, his voice low and soothing. "You did amazing, Sarah. You spoke from the heart. Don't let anyone take that away from you." "Do you really think so?" The doubt crept back in, edging its way into her thoughts, casting shadows over the light that had just illuminated her spirit. She glanced around the room, watching as some family members still exchanged knowing looks. She imagined them dissecting her revelation, the gossip already spreading like wildfire behind her back. "I know so," Jake replied firmly. "You were vulnerable, and that takes guts. No matter what anyone thinks, you've shown who you are. That's a victory." Taking a deep breath, she tried to embrace that notion, but the more she fought against that knot of anxiety, the tighter it clenched. With every laugh and smile shared around her, it twisted, binding her to her insecurities. Unbeknownst to her, Mr. Grayson had stepped away from what had become an increasingly awkward crowd. He was approaching Sarah, his expression softened by understanding. "Sarah," he began, and she braced herself for whatever had been brewing in him during the applause. "What you did back there was remarkable. Never forget that." "Thank you," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Was he just saying that out of pity? She couldn't help but wonder if her past was still casting a shadow over her right now. "I know it feels heavy," he continued, tilting his head slightly. "But don't let the fear of judgment smother the progress you've made. You're part of this family now, and we all have scars." His words gave her pause, and for a split second, she considered allowing herself to accept them. But that heaviness still settled deep in her chest, a conflict brewing inside her. She wanted to believe him, but every time she tried to grasp onto that belief, it slipped away like sand through her fingers. "In time, this will get better," he assured her, his eyes meeting hers with sincerity. "You may not see it now, but your story can inspire others. Own it, Sarah." Before she could respond, she heard that family member's voice again, cutting through her moment of clarity. "Let us get back to the wedding. We have cakes to cut and dances to share." Isn't that what this day is about? Not some sob story. The air turned sharp. A few guests hesitated, waiting to see how Sarah would react. She felt the heat rise in her cheeks, rage simmering just beneath the surface. Should she speak again? Stand up for herself once more? The reaction from the crowd teetered, uncertainty swirling in the atmosphere. Let us focus on the joy, Jake interjected, holding her close. You have the strength in you, Sarah. Don't let them dim your light. As she prepared to respond, aware of every eye glued to her, something deep within stirred the fight she had always known but hadn't yet fully embraced. The smile she had molded through her struggles was pushing back against their skepticism, and then, as she felt ready to step forward, the last of the family's challenge echoed in her heart. Would she be brave enough to once again show the truth of her journey, or would she let fear keep her quiet? The moment was now. The stakes felt high. Before she could open her mouth, however, another voice rang out from the back, startling everyone into silence. I want to hear more about Sarah's story. A voice filled with conviction, breaking the tension in the room. All heads turned. Whispers began anew. Who was this person, and what would they say next? Would this unexpected ally help Sarah find her footing, or further complicate the very fragile ground she stood on? The crowd shifted, eyes darting toward the source of the voice. A young woman, someone Sarah vaguely recognized but couldn't quite place, stepped into the dim light of the reception area. Her confidence seemed to radiate, and for a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this woman could help her stand tall. Sarah, the woman continued, her tone warm and inviting. I'm Jenna. I've heard bits of your story, and I have to say, you inspire me. It takes an incredible amount of courage to share your truth, especially in a setting like this. A ripple of surprise traveled through the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. Was this person genuinely standing up for her? Sarah deserves to be heard. Jenna emphasized, hands on her hips as though ready to defend her newfound ally against any dissent. We all have moments in our lives that shape us. Some of those moments are difficult to talk about, but they make us who we are. It's time we celebrated that instead of casting judgments. Sarah felt Jake's hand squeeze hers reassuringly, grounding her as the uncertain whispers carried through the air. The uncertainty of the moment mixed with the warmth and clarity of Jenna's words. Could they really be the light she needed to step forward? Exactly, Sarah found her voice, shaky but resolute. I've faced my share of struggles, and sharing them here was a big step for me. Everyone has scars, but they shouldn't hide us in shame. They should remind us of our strength. The room fell silent, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Sarah looked around, scoping out faces. Some still wore frowns, skepticism etched into their expressions. Others, however, seemed moved by her words, nodding subtly in agreement. Jenna smiled, her expression brightening the room. See? You're not alone in this. I bet we all have stories that could connect us. Why not share them? Why not celebrate our journeys? The challenging voice from earlier cut in, now tinged with annoyance. This isn't a therapy session. It's a wedding. We should be enjoying ourselves, not getting dragged into drama. Sarah felt her defenses rising again. Anger bubbled within her, but Jenna caught her eye, a silent reminder to breathe, to stay true to herself. It's exactly that, a celebration. A celebration of love, family, and resilience. Jenna shot back, unwavering. Sarah's breath hitched. Jenna was fighting for her. The audience seemed split, some leaning toward Jenna's perspective, while others remained skeptical. Is it that hard to accept that someone's strength can be just as vibrant in moments of vulnerability? Sarah continued, fueled by a need to reclaim her narrative. The journey I've walked has made me who I am today. And I know that's true for many of you here. Every voice in the crowd became crucial now, every reaction a chance to stand together in solidarity or stand apart in judgment. She held her breath, hope battling against the walls of anxiety around her heart. The energy shifted as the room began to murmur again. Somewhere deep within, Sarah felt the fight take hold of her heart. Maybe Jenna's unexpected support could be the catalyst she needed. But would the crowd come together, or would they splinter further apart? Sarah, Jake whispered, beaming, pride flickering in his eyes. You're stronger than you know. Keep pushing. And as she prepared to find her voice again, her eyes flicked toward Jenna, whose unwavering gaze locked onto her own. In that moment, Sarah realized just how much was at stake, not just for her, but for everyone who had ever felt silenced by their own past. Would she be able to press ahead, breaking down barriers and embracing the messy beauty of vulnerability? Or would the weight of doubt pull her back into the shadows? With adrenaline pounding in her veins, Sarah knew the answer lay in the courageous choices she was about to make. Who would emerge as allies, and would they hold her up or let her falter? The next words that left her lips would determine everything. Wait a second, Sarah began, her voice steadying, her fear transforming into a quiet strength. I know this isn't the moment anyone expected, but maybe that's the point. She could feel the tension in the room shift yet again, but this time it felt different. The crowd was no longer just a sea of judgmental faces, they were wearing expressions of curiosity, even empathy. Life isn't always about the picture-perfect moments, she said, her heart beating faster. It's about what happens in between them, the struggles, the growth, the love, and the joy hidden under layers of pain. A voice from the back chimed in, but weddings are supposed to be joyful. Can't we just focus on that? But what if joy and pain can coexist? Sarah shot back, invigorated by her own words. Isn't that what makes us human? We're not just here to celebrate a wedding but also to acknowledge that life is complicated and beautiful in all its messiness. Murmurs of agreement and dissent flickered through the crowd. Jenna leaned forward, her eyes alive with encouragement. Exactly. We all have stories that matter, she added. Your story matters, Sarah. Don't let fear silence you. Taking a deep breath, Sarah squared her shoulders, igniting a sense of empowerment within her. Jake's hand still around hers felt like an anchor, a reminder that she wasn't alone. Look, I didn't come here to stir up trouble. I came to support my son and his new wife. But I also came to share a part of my journey. So share it. Jenna urged, giving Sarah an enthusiastic nod. Feeling the energy of the room change, Sarah pressed onward. I'm a single mom. I've faced more than my fair share of challenges, from raising my son alone to grappling with self-doubt. There were days I thought I was going to drown under the pressure. She paused, searching the faces. Some looked surprised, others touched. But those challenges? They became parts of my story that I'm proud of. I learned resilience, love, and how to embrace my scars like badges of honor. As she spoke, she felt the walls around her begin to erode, the uncertainty slipping away. Her experience lit a fire within her, and she sensed the crowd's responses soften. A few nodding heads were drifting in the sea of skepticism, then, before she could think too deeply about it, she blurted out, and it's okay. It's okay to struggle. It's what helps us connect and grow as human beings. My son would tell you that understanding the shadows makes the light so much brighter. A woman standing near the front, someone Sarah recognized from the neighborhood, wiped a tear from her cheek. I get that. Thank you for saying it. Suddenly, the defiant voice that had spoken before spoke again, but seriously, this is about the couple. Can we please get back to the celebration? Sarah's heart sank momentarily, but Jenna's steady presence gave her courage. She raised her voice slightly. Why can't we celebrate both? Can't we honor the love in this room and acknowledge the real journeys that brought us here today? Isn't that the beauty of life? The room paused, allowing Sarah's words to settle like a gentle mist, melting some of the tension in the air. A man in the audience murmured, I think what she is saying is important. Love isn't just a fairy tale. It's about overcoming. As agreement sparked among a few more faces, Sarah felt herself breathing easier. Then, in the distance, she saw a flicker of movement, a small child who was watching her intently from a table. The little girl's eyes sparkled, full of understanding. Sarah's heart warmed. In that moment, she felt not just like a mother in that room, but as a bridge connecting stories together. With her breath catching in her throat, she knew she had to act on this momentum. Those moments, those struggles. They connect us all. We're not alone in this. Let us be proud of where we've come from, and let us lift each other up. In that moment, she sensed the beginning of something greater than herself. Would she be able to turn this momentum into a light that helped others, or would she return to feeling like an outsider once again? But suddenly, Jenna leaned in closer. Sarah, wait. There is something I need to tell you. Sarah's heart raced anew, curiosity clawing at her chest. What could Jenna possibly say that might change everything? Wait, what is it? Sarah pressed, the weight of the crowd hanging on the edge of her words. Jenna's eyes darted across the room, looking for approval, prayerfully seeking a way to share what was brewing inside her. It's about the nameplate, Jenna whispered, leaning in so Sarah wouldn't miss a single syllable. The nameplate? Sarah furrowed her brow, confusion tracing her features. What do you mean? Jenna took a deep breath, the kind that seemed to draw the air from somewhere deep within her. You know how your son had one made for you and him at the table? There's more to it than you think. He wrote something special there. The undertones of intrigue in Jenna's voice sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. What did he write? But Jenna shook her head, her expression resolute. You need to see for yourself. But also, you need to know that it's not just about you or him. It's about everyone out there, everyone who has felt lost or overlooked. Sarah turned back to the crowd, who seemed to share in this unspoken moment of anticipation. Jake clenched her hand tighter, his eyes reflecting the spark of curiosity matching her own. With a nod from Jenna, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped onto the small stage where the wedding speech had been held. What is happening? A murmur swelled through the crowd, some faces lit with excitement, others tinged with uncertainty. Sarah stood at the front, a familiar flutter of nerves tickling her stomach, but it felt different this time. This wasn't just about her anymore. It felt like she was being called to something higher. Excuse me, she began, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions. I know we're here to celebrate, but I found tonight that we all have a piece of this story, the struggles, the secrets, the light amidst the dark. She could see Jenna biting her lip, urging her on. What I didn't expect was to also discover a piece of my own story hidden in the nameplate my son prepared for me at the table. It's not just a decoration, it's a message. It's a bridge for anyone who might feel isolated in their journey. It's a reminder that we are never alone. Whispers filled the space as Sarah slowly walked back to the table. The nameplate gleamed under the soft lights, its inscription waiting. Her fingers brushed across the surface, and with each word, it felt like a call to arms. Mom, I love you. Your struggles are my inspiration. Keep shining. Tears filled Sarah's eyes. For every struggle she thought she had faced alone, she learned that her son saw it differently. This wasn't just his wedding, it was a celebration of their journey together. A ripple of understanding swept through the crowd. That's beautiful, a man called out. That's what love is about. But wait, another voice chimed in. What does that mean for us? How can we use our stories to help one another? To heal? Sarah wiped her tears and turned back to everyone. Yes. That's the point. We aren't just pieces in a puzzle. Each of us can help fill in gaps for one another. We can share our struggles and stand together. Let us not hide from our pain, let us shine a light on it. The crowd seemed to pulse with energy. More nods and affirmations echoed around her. She felt a deep connection with everyone there. Stories mingled in the air, and the atmosphere shifted decidedly. Let us open the floor. Jenna called out, her voice laced with enthusiasm. Everyone has a story to share. Who's next? As people began to stand, Sarah's heart soared. But a heavy weight took root in her chest. What if someone shared something too personal? Something that might hurt more than it healed? Would they be able to navigate through the rawness of their vulnerabilities? The first person stepped up, clearing their throat. Thank you for this, Sarah. I never thought I'd be brave enough to share, but the room fell into silence, their attention held tight, but Sarah's mind raced, wondering how deep the well of pain and healing might be. What would be revealed when everyone opened up? As she stood there, heart pounding, she felt life stretching out before her, full of hope and trepidation. What journey lay ahead after this unveiling? The first speaker, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, took a deep breath as she stared out into the crowd. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the microphone. I lost my husband a year ago, she started, her voice wavering. He was my rock, my everything. I thought never finding joy again was my new reality. A wave of empathy washed over those gathered, and Sarah felt the heaviness of shared grief settle in the air. The woman continued, but standing here today, surrounded by stories of love, I feel a spark I thought was long extinguished. My husband would want me to find joy to live fully again. And hearing you say how togetherness matters, it's inspiring. The crowd erupted into quiet applause. Sarah caught Jenna's eye and saw tears glistening there. Hope radiated between them as the woman stepped down, gracefully hugged by a friend who met her halfway to the stage. Next, a young man stood up, visibly nervous but determined. Hi. My name is Lucas. I was a closet artist for years. I stuck with a corporate job, terrified of being judged. He took a moment, glancing down, gathering courage. But 1 year, I had a breakthrough. I started sharing my art on social media, and guess what? A few people liked it. I realized I was bigger than my fear. Excited whispers rippled among those seated. You're so brave. Someone shouted. Sarah's heart swelled, feeling the electric connection between everyone. Together, they formed an unbreakable chain, lifting each other up. As stories flowed, Sarah wondered how many other lives would be touched, how many hidden fears would be shared. She recognized this wasn't just a celebration of her son's love but the emergence of a community built on vulnerability and strength. A young woman approached the mic next. She fidgeted with the hem of her dress and glanced at her friends, who encouraged her with nods. I've always struggled with anxiety, she admitted, her voice small yet steady. It made life feel unbearable sometimes. But I learned to lean on my friends, to seek help. Sharing this scares me, but I hope to show others they're not alone. It's okay to ask for help. Tears pricked Sarah's eyes again, realizing that honesty was the thread weaving this tapestry together. Each story was a brushstroke painting a more vibrant picture of resilience woven with pain. As the speakers took their turns, laughter and tears mingled seamlessly. A bond formed that was palpable, the kind built through the realization that each heart beat with its unique rhythm. Then suddenly, silence wrapped around the room when an older gentleman with gray hair stood up. My name is Frank. And well, I've had secrets too. I've never discussed my battle with alcohol. It drove a wedge between me and my family. But I'm here tonight, sober for a year now. And I'm learning that sharing my truth brings healing, not shame. Gasps of surprise echoed in the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. His admission hung in the air, thick with tension and rawness. The space felt charged with an electric kind of bravery. His voice trembled as he continued. I did all this hiding thinking it was just my struggle. But it hurt everyone around me. Now I see letting it out has started to mend those broken bridges. As Frank stepped down, Sarah felt a chorus of emotions swell in her chest, admiration, sadness, hope. All mingling and asking for further exploration. When she took a breath, she couldn't help but wonder how many lives were waiting to be touched by what would come next. There was a pivotal moment. They were headed toward a revelation necessary to break through. A young girl, perhaps no older than 10, shyly raised her hand and stepped forward, casting a glance back at her mother for silence. As the crowd turned to her, the room fell into hushed anticipation. What would she bring to the table? Her soft voice lifted into the air. My daddy isn't here anymore, but I want him to know I still dance. I dance for him. A gasp spread through the crowd, a collective ache forming, but also a beautiful wonder. How could such innocence embody so much depth? Each heartbeat in the room synced like a beautiful melody. It was a question that lingered in the air. How would these intertwined stories change the course of their lives that evening? As the stage grew warm with emotions laid bare, the air crackled with anticipation for what might come spilling forth next. The connection was palpable, and Sarah felt the weight of stories still left untold, waiting for their moment to shine. What else might this gathering reveal? As the little girl stepped down, a diamond-like tear caught the light and shimmered down Sarah's cheek. The room was saturated with shared emotions and newfound understanding. Right there in the community center, walls built by ignorance and indifference began to crumble, brick by brick. Dance for him, Sarah echoed softly, her heart swelling with the depth of that simple yet profound statement. Each story felt like an extension of her own journey, a ripple of strength and vulnerability intertwining their lives like a tapestry. Then Jenna stepped forward, full of zeal. Everyone! Let us dance. Let us celebrate that we are here together. A wave of excitement rippled through the crowd, inspiring them to rise from their seats. Their earlier solemnity morphed into joyous anticipation. As everyone gathered to form a loose circle, the melody of a familiar song filled the air. It was energetic, a soundtrack to resilience, a testament to the warmth of community. Laughter and chatter surrounded Sarah, pulling her back into the moment. She looked at Jake, who beamed with pride but also warmth. See. Look at them all, he said, gesturing at the dancing crowd. This is what love does. It opens hearts. As Sarah felt her feet moving, her once heavy heart lightened. She took Jake's hand, and together they joined the dance, surrendering to the sweet rhythm of life. The floor became an ocean of movement, laughter spilling everywhere like sunlight filtering through leaves. Each step pressed the past deeper into the floor, reclaiming space for joy and possibilities. Sarah swayed and spun, her spirit lifting with every beat. She was not just a single mother or defined by pain, she was a source of strength, an agent of change. A few people from the audience began sharing spontaneous stories from the sidelines. I used to think I wasn't enough. A woman called out, but I found strength in my community. The cheers of encouragement spurred more people to unveil their own tales, each testimony weaving a rich fabric of connection and understanding. As the music crescendoed, Sarah stepped forward again, her voice riding the waves of the melody. We're here to celebrate love, yes. But we're also here to shine a light on everything that makes us whole, our stories, our imperfections, and our struggles. So let us embrace who we are, embrace everything we've experienced. The energy in the room was electric. A vibrant energy of raw honesty surged, each voice layering over one another, creating a symphony of shared humanity. All barriers collapsed, replaced with profound unity and understanding. They were all in this together. Moments later, Jenna raised her glass for a toast. Here's to moving forward. Here's to love, strength, and resilience. Let us uplift one another and create a community where everyone belongs. They cheered, glasses clinking, voices mingling in a collective laugh of relief. As the night wore on, Sarah felt lighter. The worries, the doubts, they began to fade. She had shared her truth. The acceptance that enveloped her felt like a warm blanket. People danced, laughed, and shared. It was far more than just a wedding, it was a gathering of lives intertwined, each story woven into the fabric of something beautiful. Finally, under the twinkling fairy lights, Sarah felt ready to let go of the shadows of her past. She gazed around at the people smiling, dancing, celebrating. Love had triumphed over fear, filling the room with a fierce light. It's time, she whispered to Jake, whose hand she held. They shared a look of silent understanding, an agreement sealed by love. As the last strains of music faded, she stepped back to the center of the room, quieting the crowd. "Thank you," she said, emotion thickening her voice. "Thank you for embracing not just me, but every unique story in this room. We've come together in this journey. We're not just witnesses to love, we are participants in a beautiful journey of healing. Let us carry this light forward and remember together we are unstoppable." A resounding cheer followed, voices lifted in harmony. And in that moment, Sarah knew this was her new beginning, a promise that the past would guide her, not define her. With hands still clasped together, Sarah and Jake faced their bright future, sparkling with hope, love, and boundless opportunities. In the glow of the night, she felt ready to dance with life, to live boldly and embrace the beauty in every tale her own, and those yet to be written. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive uplifting stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. It means everything. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these decisive actions.